tell the world we are Liverpool, champions of England.
We've conquered all of Europe. We're never gonna stop. From Palestine to Turkey, we've won the fucking lot. Got Paisley and the Shankly, the fields of Anfield gold. We are all supporters, and we come from Liverpool.
Welcome everybody, this is the REDFIX for the Red Sea podcast. I am Nick, your host, on the right of the screen, normally in the top left corner, but that is occupied by the one and only Peter the Coach Kafinas, being the resident Greek here. George Xanthus isn't with us this evening, so Pete naturally takes over. Good evening to you, Peter.
Good evening, Nick. I mean, it's a bit upsetting that we have nothing to match about over this evening, so we've had to kind of just chill a little bit with a bit of a red fix, as you know, we've kind of backed that a little bit fixed, considering these international breaks just ruin our lives. But that's, you know, thank God that's over for a while now.
Well, that's what we're going to discuss in this show here, and joined, of course, by our Aussie Scotsman, Aussie Robbo, Mr. James Nicholson. Good evening to you, sir.
Good evening. Good evening. It's good to have a red fix. It's not so good to not have any Liverpool matches to talk about. The international fixtures giving us a bit of blue balls for the match debate at the moment, but that's all right. We'll be on track soon enough.
Yeah, holding out, looking for something better, or until there's something worthwhile to match debate over. But some sad news, not really sad news. It's sort of been known already that it was going to happen, but we'll just straight off with it, rip the Band-Aid off. Super Edwards is no more, guaranteed, official. He is leaving at the end of the season, and this is a man who's been responsible for a lot of our signings over the last 10 years. I think it's been responsible for the signings of Salah, Van Dijk, Alisson, the sales of Coutinho to Barcelona as well. You got to remember that one there as well. And there's talks that he's still trying to do some things behind the scenes before he does leave, whether that be a January or an end of season thing. But I mean, all in all, Pete, I'll go to you first, Mr. Super Michael Edwards. Where do we go from here? Such as is the title of this thumbnail. Why do you think he's said, okay, I've had enough here? And he did release like a long essay of a letter explaining his departure. But why do you think he's moving on now? Why not stay with the greatest football club in the world?
Newcastle can pay more money.
Such an easy cop-out question, that one.
But look, it's I think, well, he's still got one more window. One more window. We can call it the last dance. We're seeing that kind of going around on Twitter with a picture of Michael Edwards and the Michael Jordan kind of last dance kind of image in the background. So maybe, you know, his parting present for us can be a beautiful, maybe a Bellingham. I'd appreciate that, or maybe a Yummy in Cuckoo. You know, someone to help us that we in the areas we need this season, especially with the AFCON coming up. So maybe we can say goodbye in the nicest way possible and something beautiful in January, I hope. But why do I think he's no longer there? Don't know. Maybe he's over it. Literally, maybe he's just over it. Maybe over having to count pennies before he has to buy something. Maybe he's just over, you know, maybe he wants to change. Maybe he wants to change countries. I really, really don't know. But at the same time, if you were handcuffed and your job was to buy players and sell players, you'd feel a little bit caged, so to speak.
I think that's pretty much, that's my sentiment there. I mean, he's been there for 10 years. I mean, what else could he do? I mean, there is so much he could still yet do, but does he have the backing or the funds to do it? We know Klopp can sometimes be anal when it comes to picking his players, and he even says it as well. Salah was not my pick to sign him. It was down to Edwards. You could probably argue, and what a turnaround that's been, especially. So would we trust Klopp's judgment in all this, or do we need someone like a Michael Edwards, Jimmy?
I think the work that Michael Edwards has done, you definitely can't take it for granted. Some of the movements that's been made, not just obviously players coming in. I mean, he was the one that obviously said we need to bring Bobby Firmino in when Brendan Rodgers wanted Christian Benteke, and we know which one worked out better on that angle. But even looking at players that left, you know, Jordan Ive, even for example, Jerome Sinclair, we took some teams to the cleaners with some of those sales. But as much as also we trust Klopp and everything that he does, the the man's obviously in the role for a reason. He's been trusted to do what he has done for the last 10 years. And maybe it is just getting to the point now where it is a very rigid exercise. You know, you don't have that freedom of movement to sign the players that you want. I mean, we won the Champions League in 2019, then we won the Premier League in 2020. And we didn't really improve or grow the squad from there. When you think of winning those kind of competitions and becoming such a destination club for any football player in the world, and we obviously have brought some players in, and they have been successful to a point, but at the same time, probably not what we needed to continue that success going forward. So there may be a bit of an element of, well, how much more can I honestly do with what I can work with? Obviously, there's someone coming in who's going to take his role, who's been working behind the scenes for a number of years. But is that going to improve going forward based on the way the club's already been run? Is that going to be something that might start to frustrate Jurgen Klopp even more? There's so much that remains to be seen coming out of this. It's a very unknown time, I think, for most Liverpool fans. So we'll see where it ends up.
Because we know we've had issues with the whole transfer committee with the Hicks and Gillett days, or I think it was when FSG first came into it, and that whole fiasco with the Roy Hodgson and Brendan Rodgers and all that business. But because Michael Edwards has been the man to really facilitate and bring in these players, does that leave Liverpool at a disadvantage now? Because make no mistake about it, Premier League champions, Champions League winners, in the last 3 years, won everything there is to win in world football. It won't deter players coming to Liverpool, but what does that say now about what we can do to bring players in and really convince them to play for Liverpool? Because how the hell Michael Edwards would get a Van Dijk or a Fabinho or a Wijnaldum and these sorts of players who've been cult heroes and probably will go on to be solid Liverpool stars. Pete, what does this say now? Is this ammunition for the FSG out brigade? Are they going to try and make this about FSG not giving the money to Edwards, not, like you said, not being able to really let his wings go, and his wings are clipped, he wants to go somewhere else where he can actually do his job? What's your take?
Of course, people look for any reason to complain. I mean, that's the whole point of social media. It's the whole point is to complain, not to celebrate, which is frustrating, because at the moment it just seems like our Twitter fan base, which I believe social media is in rule. I just think it's this weird multiverse of just confused people. But it's something that would definitely give them a reason to say FSG out. And I don't think it's that way. I think it's a tough one because we don't know exactly what's happened. We don't know if they've said to Michael Edwards, "You've only got $4 to work with," and he's turned around and said, "Yeah, but I want him, and he's worth $6." Well, sorry. So we actually don't know that's happened, so we can't really say that's exactly what's happened. It feels like that's what's happened, considering we haven't made any significant kind of progress in the windows when we've needed to, especially the whole Lovren thing we didn't bring in, then the whole Wijnaldum thing we didn't bring in, and we haven't strengthened our front line other than a Jota. Minamino was a $7.5 million kind of cop out where that was never going to be a failure because we can sell him for 20 now. So it's like, oh look, we sold for 20. That was awesome. Or if it worked out, it was told you. So it's one of them ones with Minamino. So I just feel like, I definitely think we've needed strengthening in the front third for a while now, but because Salah does need his help, and Firmino, oddly enough, has been getting injured more than we're used to, and Mane's had his dip in forms, and now he seems to be back. But unfortunately, at the moment, we don't know if he's fit for the game on weekend. But so things like that. So all it takes is, for example, a couple of injuries in the front third, and we're really down to starting, like for example, Origi and with Salah and maybe a makeshift player at the top there, or Jota, depending what's happening going on. So I don't think it's an FSG out cop out or a way to start with them, but I definitely think it definitely had something to do with it for sure.
And hopefully, speaking of strengthening, hopefully your Wi-Fi signal strengthens up, because it's like we're in 1998 all over again. dropping in and out.
Oh, really?
We can still hear you. We can still hear you, but the picture is very choppy. It's like Jim's
as long as you can hear
webcam
me.
when he
Don't worry about looking.
when he dances naked to the internet in American Pie. It's very choppy. But
As
before
long as
we
you
move
can
on
hear
to
me.
we can 100%. But moving on, before, as you said there, there is still one or two, well, technically two transfer windows to go, January and at the end of the season, if you can work something out before that happens. Apparently, Rafinha is also touted as coming to or wanting to be signed by Edwards and Liverpool. Obviously plays for Leeds at the moment. He's got 11 goals in 40 appearances. He's been called up to the Brazilian national team, and you know, we've done okay with Brazilians in the last few years. So I wouldn't say why not. And look at the contingent we've got there already. Firmino, we've also got Alisson and Fabinho as well. So that there's no reason why he wouldn't want to come over there. But that's a question on the player and whether he'll want to make the move over here. So we don't know what's going to happen. But Michael Edwards, a big part of the Liverpool squad, and as we saw, responsible for the Liverpool squad. And speaking of the Liverpool squad, internationals and Liverpool FC just do not work well at all, because we've had another bout of internationals and another bout of injured players. Henderson injured. We know Firmino's been injured already. We've also had Mane go off with the knock, which apparently the manager says that it's not that big of a deal. What is it about us and injuries when it comes to international, Jimmy? Please, like, why are we cursed?
I think the problem is it's actually two negatives coming together. Usually negatives make a positive when you put them together, but when it's Liverpool sense, it just causes an absolute nightmare. So not only are we getting a few injuries on international breaks, but because of the lack of signings over the last few years, it highlights itself even more. I don't know what it is with us in particular, where our players just seem to cop injuries during this time. Is it too many international breaks? There's too many games being played. Players aren't getting enough rest and recuperation between games. There's all that travel as well. We've got players going left, right, and centre at the moment. I know, obviously, Jordan Henderson played it. I think he played at Wembley at the weekend. So maybe I'm talking at my arse a little bit there. But the fact of the matter is, there's so much football being played. We just seem to cop at the worst. I was looking at the injury table. I said to you boys before we started, Liverpool are top of the injury table with 8 injuries, which is an absolute nightmare at the moment. And when we've already got a squad that's quite thin as what it is in terms of numbers, that's not good going forward. So we can't have this every month, every couple of months when international comes up. We're thinking, all right, well, we've got a almost full squad. We might have 1 or 2 injuries. We might get through it. That's fine. And then we come back, and then another 5 or 6 players are having to try and make it to the finish line to try and be fit, or to try and get over the niggle or the knock or whatever it is that they've taken over it. Why it seems to be us, it just seems to be the typical Liverpool curse, where we seem to be the ones that just get caught out by it. I don't know why. It just seems to happen. But I think the biggest issue is the fact that we've had a lack of squad depth and bolstering. We've got quality players, don't get me wrong, but we just don't have the quality depth, which is what we need. And I think it's just the two of them coming together, which makes it highlight and stand out even more.
Well, Pete, we've got Harvey Elliott from what I can see here. Henderson, we've spoken about. Firmino, we know he's out. Also, Naby Keita, surprise, surprise. Mane with his injury, which it says it's not that bad, but we'll see what happens. There's also the case of, and websites crash.
Henderson.
Love when that happens. Yeah, we mentioned Henderson. Just go through it again. Keita, Mane, Milner as well, Gomez,
Yep.
and Jones, who had the eye injury in training. So apart from that, Thiago seems to be okay. Fabinho's okay, but then again, who's the other midfielder? Ox-Chamberlain had a good game against Atletico, and then had a fluff against West Ham. And who else do you put in there? Like out of those players there, who are we missing?
Jones, I think Jones was just a weird one. Like, he got a scratch to the eye, and so we're going to rule him out. Like, it's just a typical fucking. I think he'll be ready. I think he's fit. But he didn't travel for international or anything international wise. So it's obvious for me, if there's a Henderson injury or Henderson's questionable, I think it's obviously as hopefully as forward as it is with Fabinho, Thiago, and Jones, which for me is actually really exciting. As to flip it on its head and to be positive about it, that excites the shit out of me. If we can play with a double side by side with Thiago and Fabinho, and having Curtis Jones just doing what he does best and be that roaming kind of free that free 10 where he kind of expresses himself in the final third, because we've been kind of holding him back a little bit, asking him to do this extra side of defending thing that he not yet. He still needs to learn because he's still only 20 years old. People forget that, but I feel like if we have Fabinho and Thiago side by side, I just think the balance is just exactly what we need.
So, James, tell me, with these injuries, we've got Arsenal coming up, which we're going to talk about soonish, but with the ins and outs at the moment, who is going to potentially be coming into this squad now? If we have no Firmino, no Mane, Salah seems to be doing okay. I think he got himself a goal or an assist for Egypt against Angola. Jota's there. Is this a time for Minamino maybe, or is this Origi who scored himself a nice goal against West Ham? You know what I mean? Like, what happens now? Who's in and out for the next month of November? Let's just say.
Yeah, I don't see Minamino coming in, unfortunately. We could lose our entire squad and Minamino would still be on the bench. It would just so happen to be the case. But it kills me as well. But I mean, I can't see what he's got to do to be picked at the moment. He's also done well in the cup runs and things like that. But the boy just needs a chance to start a game and see what happens. He's going to go with Divock Origi. It's almost a guarantee, and stick Jota out wide left, I think, again. And then I actually think he would play Mo Salah in the middle. I think Klopp has this tendency when he needs to make a pick, he picks Origi, and at times he'll stick him out wide. I'm not sure why. I don't agree with it, but he has done it in the past on occasion, so I can see that potentially happening, and then Salah being brought into the middle. Against Arsenal, it's a front line that I still think could do a great job. Origi, when he decides or when he can be asked to put an effort in, he can do a great job. He obviously has scored a few good goals recently, but it's a worrying position to be in when you're missing quality players like Bobby Firmino and Mane, even if he is very hot and cold at the moment. Because the concern about Jota, I don't have too much of a concern about. Jota can be very consistent and can put in a performance. There's no problem there. But my concern with players like Divock Origi, no, I say players like Divock Origi. What I mean is my concern with Divock Origi. My concern with Divock Origi is when he can be bothered, he's fantastic and he's such an asset to the club. But sometimes you have to wait 3 or 4 games before you see it. So far this season, he's done well. He's obviously played more of the cup games than anything else, and he scored the goal against West Ham at the end, which was a very well taken goal. But what is expected outside of just scoring goals from our front three is where I get a bit nervous. So that's where I get a bit questionable.
Yeah, there's no playmaker like Firmino to play that false 9, drag opposition out of position and open up spaces for the other players to run into. But I mean, leaving Arsenal aside, we've got a dead rubber at home to Porto because we're already qualified for the Champions League. Then we've got a home game against Southampton. But the one everyone's eyes are on is the away Merseyside derby on December 1st, and that is 2 weeks away. Just under 2 weeks away. So if we are to say without some of these players, would you sacrifice, dropping some points against Arsenal at home? I wouldn't be. I'd want to beat Arsenal, keep that home record intact, and try and get 3 points there. But if they're going to say, okay, you have no Mane and no Firmino for the next 2-3 weeks, do you take it and just try and make do with what you've got, Pete, or do you try and make something happen to say, screw that, we've got players who can do the job, let's throw the kitchen sink?
See, Arsenal is a game that you kind of expect that it could go anyway, right? Because they're in their best form they've been since Arsene Wenger's left. I think they're in unbelievable form at the moment, playing good stuff. They're defensively very, very solid. But going back just a little bit, our previous fuck-ups to West Ham, Brighton, I'm going to throw Brentford in there. Don't allow this to be one of those games that, but we lost to Arsenal, so it's expected because Arsenal's a top team and one of the best, at the moment in the league, which on form, no one can debate it. They're definitely one of the best in the league on form. And they're only 2 points behind us, by the way, and they lost their first 3 games in a row. So I don't want that noise of, but they're Arsenal and this and that. No. Form-wise, they're on fire. So that's why I don't listen to that noise. It really shits me. So it's one of those games. Unfortunately, Nick, it's a win, and it has to be a win, and it's a win only because we do have a hard run going up. But the international break stuff, there was some positives in Neco Williams scoring for Wales. Just going back a little bit there, he scores for Wales. Not to mention Tsimikas got a man of the match performance this morning, and against Spain, he was phenomenal in Spain. I watched that game, and to be fair, his own teammates kind of fucked his performance because he put 3 on a platter for him, on a souvlaki platter for him, and it was just he put it down.
Damn, bro, I'm hungry. I'm starving. Don't, bro, please.
They missed 2 or 3 open headers, and I thought to myself, you just ruined these guys' crosses. But so you talk about who's in and who's out. Come on, like it's not sort of that funny joke anymore. Like it's seriously like, what more can he internationally? He's dominating against Spain. By the way, it's not very hard. It's very hard to do that. Man of the match again. Fuck. And it's not like, I'm not saying bin Robbo and fucking sell him, but maybe he does need just a couple of weeks and bring him back before the derby, for example, which is perfect timing because that is 2.5, 3 weeks away.
Yeah.
So, and then because he knows how to obviously cope with the pressure of a derby, and he's coped with Champions League finals for fuck's sake, so he knows how to do it. But maybe he just needs a rest leading up into that match, and there's nothing wrong with saying that. It's not one of those. I'm not saying sell him. I'm not saying let's burn him and set him on fire. It's just right now.
Not yet.
He needs to have a rest.
Yeah,
and Tsimikas needs his chance to fail.
Effectively to protect the players, to avoid burnout, to avoid another injury, because as soon as you say Robbo's injured for a month, everyone starts moaning and thinking like, oh, for fuck's sakes, now we've got to play Tsimikas. I've got no problem with that. But you don't want to get to that point where you say, well, Robbo's injured. I'd rather say Robbo needs a rest. We'll give him 1 or 2 games and then Tsimikas in there, or he'll be on the bench if we need him. We'll bring him on, but we won't play him full tilt for a whole 90 minutes back to back, Champions League, Premier League, whatever, you know what I mean, in the space of 3 days. I think that's only sensible. But we know how frustrating Klopp can be. And to those people who have said we're negative or whatever, mate, if you want to be a top red, be a top red. But objectively, you've got to look at the situation here. When a player is not performing well, and we can see it, that this person cannot run anymore and they need a break, they need a break. We're not saying, like Pete said, sell them, get rid of them. No. We're not going to take the horse around the back and shoot it, okay? Sit on the bench for a couple of games. If we need you, we'll bring you on. In the meantime, let these other guys who are in form, who can play your same position, play the game you play it a little bit differently. Give them a go. Like Pete said as well, let them fail. Let them do something wrong. Because until that happens, you can't say, well, Robbo's the best left back in the world, or, Trent's the best right back in the world. Like, Trent's been on fire recently, but we've seen when he's injured, we got no answer at right back either. Whereas we have an answer with left back now, so utilize it. Don't run Robertson to the ground to the point where people are going to start moaning and saying, oh, now we have to play Tsimikas for a whole 4 or 5 games in the space of a month. We want to avoid that crap.
I agree completely. And obviously, maybe a few months ago, I'd be on the Andy Robertson bandwagon and telling Pete where to stick it. But at the end of the day, the reality is Robbo has been running non-stop like an Energizer bunny for 4 or 5 years now. And sometimes, and I'm sure we've all experienced it, sometimes you play so much football, you become detached from it because you just can't process exactly where you're at or what's going right or what's going wrong. And you need to take that step back, realign, refocus, recuperate, everything like that. And it's not to say that Robbo is not a valuable player. Robbo is one of the most valuable players that we've got in this team. But if we don't look after him, if we don't manage him and his fitness, his ability, everything like that in the right way, you're just going to go right round the other way and you're going to suffer for it. I mean, he's playing international football with Scotland at the moment. He's still playing full 90-minute matches, full tilt. He's going non-stop. He actually managed to connect one of his crosses on Friday night. You'll be happy to hear, Pete. But it wasn't a goal, unfortunately. But he's still going non-stop. So to turn around and say, right, we're just going to take 1 game, 2 games, sit it out, might give you 15, 20 minutes at the end just to keep your legs on the move, everything like that. But on the other side of that as well, you've also got Tsimikas, who he's had a taste for Premier League football. He's been integrated into this side long enough now. He joined us not the summer then, the summer before. He spent way more than enough time with the boys to be able to step in and do the job. And he's proven it multiple times already. He pretty much had almost every single assist in the first 2-3 games. So we need to turn around and accept that we've actually got two quality left backs, and we need to be able to balance the two of them together. So
You know what's funny?
Hopefully,
It's funny, is I reckon Klopp's like furious that he turned out to be successful. I reckon he wanted to be like a Nico. I reckon he wanted to be like a Nico Williams. Like, yeah, he's good, but he's not good enough.
Yeah.
But we'll play him.
Yeah.
We'll play him when we have
Yeah.
to. I reckon
we'll play him
Klopp's
against
looking at
Preston.
him-
It's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon Klopp's going to Michael Edwards going, "What the fuck did you sign him for?" Look at me.
No wonder Michael Edwards leaving.
He's undermining my love for Robbo. Why is he doing this? He's making me look
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, you're the manager. But this is the thing, though. We've always cried we need two players for each position. We've got a player for that position, and we're still not using him. Like, we played Milner at right back when Trent was out against City, and he got absolutely rinsed. You're lucky he didn't get sent off. You know what I mean? We can't be doing that with left back again, because if Robbo's out, you don't want to see Milner playing there. Yeah, we've got some youngsters, but again, Klopp's not going to have them play 90 minutes against Everton if we need them there. So, you know what? You're playing against Arsenal. I'd say put Tsimikas in there. Give Robertson a rest. Like you said, James, he's been playing internationals as well. The guy hasn't stopped. Maybe he's not close to an injury, but he just needs a rest. He just needs a proper rest to just kick back, relax, let someone else take over, and keep him on the bench. 70th minute, nothing's happening. We need someone to run at the opposition. Robbo, you got 20 minutes, 30 minutes, go run. You know what I mean? That's all you got to do.
That's it. That's exactly it.
I don't know. Well, speaking of, we'll go to Arsenal first up, because there is some other news from Liverpool legend Pete's going to give us some breaking news. He's got the I won't reveal it straight away, but this is the Arsenal are in their best form that they've been in years. They're 10 games undefeated now. They've won 8 out of the last 10 or something, and they've actually won a few games quite nicely. Obviously beat Tottenham in the North London derby. They got the win against Norwich, beat Burnley away. The only question mark there you'd probably say was the 2-2 draw against Palace. A lot would say that Palace were unlucky not to win in that game altogether. They got was it Lacazette who scored in the 90th minute or something in that
90
game?
plus, yeah.
Yeah, for equaliser. So, you know what I mean? Apart from that, they've been pretty much like smooth sailing, shall we say. But, I mean, Arsenal have not beaten us at Anfield in Yonks, and they've been on the end of some big, 5-1s, 3-1s, 5-0s. Remember that Rodgers game? It was 4-0 in the first 20 minutes. Like, absolute madness that was. I remember I was lining up outside Ivy nightclub in Sydney for that, and I said to my mate, just looked over, United fan, I just went 4-0. He goes, for who? I get Liverpool. He goes, fuck off. He goes, the game just started. I go, bro, it's 20 minutes. It's 4-0. I go, check live score. He goes, what the fuck's going on here? Crazy stuff. But Arsenal, Pete, talk to me. What's the go for Arsenal? Why have Arsenal become so resurgent lately? And will the Gunners be looking to maybe really, play towards, maybe getting something away at Anfield this time around?
What he's done, that's kind of helped him in his recent couple months spell, is that, because he also got manager of the month in September, by the way. He's actually he's flipped his kind of, his first couple of years was always like, oh, I was Pep's assistant, so all I'm going to do is attack, and obviously didn't work. He's kind of flipped it now. He's kind of focused more so on the defensive side of things, and he's actually improved that side of his game. So they actually, if you look at the Crystal Palace game, Nick, if you have a look at their, I think you've hit quite a few clean sheets. And I actually think they've conceded less goals than us this season, if my memory serves me correct. You can touch up on that if you can.
Check it out for you right now.
Yeah. And look, as this comment here, the fixtures have helped them, which is fine, but we've also conceded 8 goals against Brighton, West Ham, and Brentford. We've conceded 8 against them, and those fixtures should have helped us. So I think it's the Premier League, and we've got to show every team is kind of the same respect that they're top quality sides other than Norwich. But yeah, that's I just think that what's made them better is the fact that they've actually flipped and they focus more so on the defensive side. So I actually can't see them coming to us going all out on home because they're in form. I can actually coming to us and picking their moments when to attack, not sit back counter, but more so trying to be a bit more cautious rather than what we've seen them come to Anfield and try to do.
It's one of those things now when it comes to it with Arsenal. If this was being played in the first 3 rounds, of the season, you say it's an easy win for Liverpool. There's no contest, you know what I mean? Everyone's back. Arsenal are all over the place, and you're just expecting 3 points. Arsenal get onto that pitch, and they know they're losing that game. Now you start to think to yourself, okay, there's still that same Arsenal, but because they've had a better run, they're on a good run. Okay, we've lost the first game away, but we still have that the reformed streak at Anfield, shall we say? You know, quote hashtag Fortress Anfield or whatever nonsense people want to use. But now coming into this game, you'd be thinking that, okay, Arteta, the squad, and the Arsenal fans will all be thinking, okay, shit, it's Liverpool. We can still get absolutely spanked if we don't play this right. But hey, I feel much more comfortable now playing them than I did last year or whatever. Even though they're still winning against opposition who are probably not as strong, lower half, all those sorts of things there. Still, it's the confidence that breeds in them. So, I don't know, Jimmy, are they going to come to Anfield and expecting that they're going to win this game, or are they just going to try and not lose?
They'll have the belief that they can definitely win. If you look at Liverpool over the last few weeks, we have our moments where we look great, and then we have our moments where we look like we're absolutely falling to pieces. And Arsenal will be thinking, with their change in form over the last few months, that they might have an opportunity. I agree with Pete. It's not going to be a full-on attacking flow Arsenal. It's going to be a very structured, very planned, very well-timed performance. But there is that other side of the coin as well, isn't there, where it could just be a fact that we might just find our best again, like we did against Manchester United, like we did in that sort of second that return fixture against Atletico Madrid, where we were just in the right place at the right time, and we just knew exactly what we had to do: play the right balls, play the right pass, make the right movements, everything like that. And before you know it, we're a couple of goals ahead. So coming out from the international fixtures as well, it's a hard one to read. Arsenal don't have any real injury worries. Partey's out, and Kolasinac, I think, got an injury on international duty as well, and Granit Xhaka's been out for a few months, but I think Granit Xhaka being out is probably a benefit to Arsenal, if I'm being honest, because he's a liability. So there has been a lot of their players coming into a good bit of form. There's been a lot of noise around is it Ellis Smith-Rowe, the new number 10 that they've got. He's obviously picked up a few goals, but also is getting on the assists. The challenge with Arsenal is, yes, they are getting better defensively. Yes, they have got a few wins, but their output in terms of goals isn't great. So could that be a bit of a disadvantage to them if, again, we're playing at our best defensively as well? Well, that's where our biggest issues have been. So it's going to be quite an intriguing match. It's not going to be. I don't think it's going to be like anything that we've seen over the last few years between the two sides.
Pete, can I ask you, when it comes to the Liverpool midfield, that's been a big question at the moment. If there's anything we can complain about, it's our midfield. Okay, defensively, maybe we argue that we haven't been as solid as possibly we could be, but our midfield is going to be key here. So do you start Fabinho and Thiago in this midfield against an Arsenal team and throw someone, I don't know who you're going to put in that number 10, that 10 role? Is it going to be Jones or whoever's going to be available? What's your midfield pick against a team like Arsenal?
Well, it depends if Henderson's injured or not, but let's pretend that he is. It's Fabinho, Thiago, and Jones. But I have Fabinho and Thiago sitting down side by side rather than having this double 8 thing that he's doing that leaves the gaps, because Arsenal will be attacking central areas through Smith Rowe, Saka. Even he's got, depending who he's playing, but he'll have Pepe kind of rolling in centrally, where he's a wide player, but he makes his runs in through like a diagonal position. So he's going to have midfield runners and players actually running through the guts. That's where most of their attacks come from. So, and it's been our Achilles heel this year. Is people running literally straight through our midfield just unmarked. So I think we have to play with a double pivot rather than a single, considering this is not just to counteract their strength, but at the same time makes us stronger, considering we can have Thiago deeper and getting on the ball more, because I don't give a shit what anybody says. Still in world ball, to find somebody better on the ball, and with that much class and intelligence. And then there's Fabinho, obviously, who's a master at breaking up play. And we all know that he can play a ball, by the way. We've seen him assist a few goals and so forth. But it also allows the space between the midfield and the strikers for Curtis Jones to do what he does best. And that's that street kid mentality where it's about, whether it's third man runs behind the striker, or it's shooting from distance, or it's little whips around the corner, which we've seen him do so well just to kind of let him be free, like take him off the chain and let the other two do the work for him. And then as long as he presses front, because if Origi starts, it's an issue in terms of pressing wise, because Arsenal do like to build up. They don't like, for example, against West Ham. Yeah, he looked very good because West Ham aren't going to play out from the back. So he looked good when we had the ball. But when Arsenal play out from the back, we're going to make sure the press has to be spot on. Jota's great at pressing. Salah, we know. Firmino, king. But I think that's where Origi lets himself down, is in those moments where he has to defend from the front for us. Not so much what he does on the ball, because he scores 3 goals and he's effective because he's big. And especially if Tsimikas is playing and, whipping a ball to Origi's head, we've seen it in 3 or 4 cup games already. So we know that those two have a nice little partnership, so it can work potentially if Origi starts. I just feel like Origi's got to do a lot more off the ball in this game if he starts than on the ball. That's all.
No, you make a good point there, and it is going to be an interesting one, because if we are without Mane, Firmino, we know he's out. Who's going to be that third player in that starting 11? It could very well be Origi. It could be, I don't want to say it, but hey, Chamberlain might get a run as well, because Klopp loves to do dumb things like put Chamberlain in the front third where he can't really run between lines and things like that. But I like that midfield. Do we want to see Konate start alongside Van Dijk in this game?
Yeah.
Well, definitely. I mean, Joe Gomez obviously still injured. Joe Matip doesn't play international football, but again, he plays more than 4 games in a row, and then things fall down like a deck of cards. So I think Konate's been fantastic since he's come in, to be honest. He's sort of been introduced in the most unusual form as well. Usually you think you introduce a young player, new league, everything like that, you might play him against maybe your Norwiches and things like that. But he comes in against Crystal Palace at home, and we know how Crystal Palace can be difficult. And then against Manchester United away, which can go one of 2 ways, and we know how that ended up. So I think Konate is definitely good enough to have in there, partner alongside Van Dijk, who I still think is getting closer, but we still have a bit of a way to go before we see the Van Dijk that we all remember pre-Everton injury last year. I think we're just now actually in a very fortunate space with the quality of defenders that we have. It's just now about making sure that we have them fit and ready to go continuously. So we'll see where we end up. So I think Joe Gomez is due to be back by the Arsenal game, but Joe Gomez has been a bit of an enigma this season, to be honest, which is very unusual, because we used to say that Joe Gomez was the perfect partner for Van Dijk, and here we are.
It is indeed, and dare I say, you probably say Alisson is going to be in goals, and I'm just going to share this one image here, because I know we had a bit of a laugh about it after his performance against West Ham. It's this one right here. So, when you can use your hands, the job is not so hard. And I think some of us were saying, like, well, if you jump higher than the opposition, I don't think you'll have a problem. So
explain the third goal we conceded then.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to get flappy hands.
Yeah.
That's that one there. But yeah, there's no one else you'd rather have behind goals, especially when he's available. So hopefully he doesn't have another mare between the sticks. But now that the final act, the piece de resistance, I'm going to show you guys an image, and Pete's going to tell us that he's turned heel. So this was announced a few days ago. What are we thinking, Pete? I know you've been itching about this one here. Gerrard, as the new head coach of Aston Villa, somehow sacked Dean Smith, and he's been hired by Norwich, who sacked Farker the other day, and it's a merry-go-round of managers. But Gerrard from Rangers, getting them number 55 in the Scottish Premier League, to Aston Villa, who basically gave him, I think denied him his nice little farewell, I think, when he was retiring football. So, hey man, new head coach is Aston Villa. What do you reckon, Pete?
Well, this is my official announcement of.
My God, he's turning heel.
This is my official announcement. I'm going live on TV or YouTube or whatever the fuck it's called, and I'm announcing that I have officially swapped teams. I am now a Villa diehard. I've been a Villa diehard for years. I've been here since day one. I'm happy we signed Stevie. It was, stuck in for Liverpool fans, because there is now my coach. It's just something that I love watching you all melt, because Stevie this, Stevie that will suck. He's the manager of my club. So it's been brilliant. I feel fine, like a big weight off my shoulders, because I'm not upset now every single week. I kind of expect failure. Yeah, it's been brilliant. So I'll still come on the shows as like a guest and stuff. But I mean, when we play you December 11th, I'm not going to be nice to you all.
Oh my
I
god!
was just about to say December 11th or December 12th for us. In Australia is going to be a big one. Jimmy, well, what are your initial thoughts? I mean, look, in all seriousness, it's nice to see Stevie progressing. We know he was coach of the youth team in Liverpool. Then you got the Rangers gig, been there for a couple of seasons, won them the premiership there, which he will be forever, known as a hero there. And a lot of actually, I've got some Scottish music colleagues who follow Rangers, and they can't get enough of him. They're forever thankful. Some will say, they're a little bit bitter because he's left them, for a better job. If you have a chance to manage in the Premier League, I would say any manager would take it, regardless of what team it is. But in all seriousness, it's a massive step for Steve, and it's nice to see that he's following, the path that he wants to. And a lot of people are making out like, is this the stepping stone towards Liverpool's managerial position for Stevie? What do you reckon?
Potentially. This is the biggest test that he's going to get before that job ever becomes available, is the reality of it. So as soon as it became an option, of course he was going to take it, no question about it. I think it's a fantastic opportunity for Stevie. I think he has the ability to do a great job, but he also has the backroom staff to help him do a great job as well. I mean, we obviously look at Jurgen Klopp, and he's a fantastic coach, everything like that, but Jurgen Klopp couldn't do the magic that he does without the people behind him. It's as simple as that. And Steven Gerrard is the exact same. He's pretty much brought his entire backroom staff from Rangers. So Gary McAllister, Michael Beale, Tom Culshaw, Scott Mason, and the rest have all followed suit. And what they did up at Rangers was no mean feat as well. I mean, Rangers obviously one of two biggest clubs in Scotland between Rangers and Celtic. They had been relegated all the way down back to the fourth tier of Scottish football. They had been brought back up, but were struggling in the Premier League. Celtic were going for 10 in a row, which is a big thing in Scottish football. Stevie Gerrard came in. They won their 55th Scottish title. Stopped Celtic getting 10 in a row. Big, superb thing. So what he's done in Scotland is, undefeated. Didn't lose a game.
Yeah.
And I think his right back scored like 12 penalties that season or something. I don't know. Anyway, so like I say, fantastic achievement, absolutely brilliant. The thing is though, Rangers and Celtic are big fish in very small ponds. Because if you can't do a good job with Rangers and Celtic, I mean, you got to start asking yourself questions. Brendan Rodgers went to Celtic and won a load of titles and then left to join Leicester halfway through the season. So there's been some Rangers fans who have obviously come out and said, like, well, why would he leave Rangers and this opportunity to go to Aston Villa? Well, the reality is
shit there.
It's
Aston Villa, man.
It's Aston Villa. It is Premier League football. It is the opportunity. It is the money. It is the competition. It is everything that goes with it. So I think it's the perfect move for Steven Gerrard to really test himself as a manager. You look at people like Frank Lampard. Obviously, he was the Derby manager. Went to Chelsea and shat the bed. But I think Steven Gerrard's done it in the right way. He's obviously the under-18s manager at Liverpool. He's gone to Rangers. He's proven himself over 3.5 years, and now he's gone to Aston Villa. So perfect opportunity. Really looking forward to see what comes of it. In terms of the future Liverpool manager thing, to me, that's I don't like to think about it too much, because that means obviously talking about Jurgen Klopp not being there. And whilst I know that's going to be a reality one day, I don't want to focus on that because it's fucking killer. So at the moment, I'm just I'm watching for afar. I hope he does well, except for when Pete and his villain mates turn up Anfield on the 11th.
I don't think people understand how big we are as a club at Aston Villa. Like, it's just,
Here we go.
He's a top villain. He's a top villain.
We're a big club. We've won a Champions League. We've won more Champions Leagues than Man City, by the way.
True. And Arsenal, mind you. Yes, true.
We are a big club. So it's something that it's a lot of pressure coming from Rangers. I think he's got it's massive. It is a massive test. And look, he's got a top squad to work with. We've been underperforming all year. I agree with Raul's comment in terms of underperforming. The starting 11 is actually a pretty good starting 11 when you put it together. Signing,
I was going to say,
Leon Bailey is a top signing, same as the striker from Norwich, Buendia. He's there. So some good signings, good team. So I think we should be okay with Stevie's guidance. I just hope that we can just get it going.
How long can you put up this charade for, man? He cracked. He couldn't do it anymore. He
I'm
cracked.
fucking
That was
doing
it.
this
He
all
cracked.
year, by the way.
He cracked. Well, look, they got Douglas Luiz, young midfielder, been one of their standout players. John McGinn, Scottish international. He works hard. He looks like a runner.
He's a
Danny
very good
Ings went there, of course, from Southampton. Matty Cash. You got Ollie Watkins, 25 years old. Good, striker. He scores some
we love
goals
him.
here and there. Buendia's a big one. Danny Ings, of course, he's gone there as well. Martinez in goals. He does have some players there who he can work with, and dare I say, he'll probably bring in his own players as well. Whether he's going to go back and raid Rangers, like a lot of managers tend to do, they go to their former clubs to pick players out. I don't know if he will or not, but look, we wish him all the best, but not on December the 11th or the 12th, Pete. So unfortunately, you can SMD on that one there. Hopefully, you don't get anything at Anfield, and you should renounce your love for Liverpool and all your Liverpool tattoos ASAP. Get that stuff lasered off right now.
I already have.
He's quick on this one. He's a quick boy. So that
but
was the big
in all
news.
seriousness, one thing Stevie will bring, though, all jokes aside, is that an expectation, like just that level of expectation, like because from all the podcasts I've heard him in, that he's spoken about his style, and same as Michael Bill, who's done his kind of who I'm a massive fan of, by the way, because of his career path. It's something that I aspire to. Is kind of what Michael Bill's done, but it will bring a level of structure, more so outside of the field more than anything. That level of professionalism. Not saying Dean Smith didn't do it or wherever it was, but he's going to do it the Gerrard way, because Gerrard's only ever known on just being the best and only the best. And he's always known to pull people up and make them better. So he knows how to make people better. If he's made Jimmy Traore a Champions League winner, I can only imagine what he could do with this team, with us at Aston Villa. So I just something that to be fair, I'm actually really excited, and I don't care what people are saying on Twitter. Oh my God, what's this love fest for Liverpool fans talking about Villa? Fuck off. It's simple as that. We want to talk about it. You don't have to read it or don't listen to it. It's simple. At the end of the day, this person, for depending on your age, was your hero growing up. Because without him,
True.
we don't win the Champions Leagues, the FA Cups, continue to make the Europa Champions Leagues every single year. We don't have that icon, that hero to look forward to, because for such a long time it was only him, and we only know this person as this iconic cult hero figure, where he literally played with a Superman cape on his back for us growing up, all similar ages, all three of us. So for us to be super happy for our hero, our idol, our god to continue and grow, of course we're happy. Why would we sit there and shit can it? It's like, okay, shit can Ollie Solskjaer. That's obviously that's something that we want to do, but why would we sit there and not be happy for Stevie, who's doing something that he loves? I don't get it. Why people are so against it. So that shit for me is just as bad as the other people who say it's okay to lose it because we have Klopp as our manager. It's those fucking morons.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, if there's one thing I'm looking forward to, it's a lot of this in Stevie's press conferences.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Are we able to hear that?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely, Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
Anyways, I'm looking forward to a lot of that. I'm just looking forward to a lot to. So, Stevie, what do you think? Do you think you did well? Yeah, of course. I think
Every
the players
single
did
time.
well, and yeah, of course. And you know what this is going to result in? This is going to result in more Darren Farley doing more Stevie impersonations as the Villa manager. That's what I'm looking forward to now. Darren Farley's going to
Jesus.
killing it
Just
with
leave my
this.
Stevie alone.
How is that guy still relevant,
Leave
man?
Stevie
Jesus.
alone. Hey, he does a good Rafa Benitez, does a good Sean Dyche, does a good everyone really. But the other
Spanish
guys
waiter.
So
better
what's
than
ahead of the
that.
week? Do we have any more shows planned for the rest of the week?
Mate, unless there is a training ground, the other top dogs, if they're working on their previews, the Fab Four and all that sort of stuff, I'd probably say that is happening. But apart from that, this
Definitely
is
an
pretty
Arsenal
much
preview
it.
coming from the Fab Four.
Yeah,
When-
there would be, and then
when-
we will have finally a match debate, whether that's in happiness or tears of sadness. We'll wait and see what happens. But that'll be on next Monday night / Monday morning for the UK folks. So I think pushing 50 minutes now. I think it was a decent chat, making mountains out of out of Anthills because there's not much going on apart from international injuries. Who's in and out for Arsenal? Michael Edwards leaving. Gerrard as the Aston Villa manager. So all eyes on Anfield on December the 11th/12th. And unless we have any further business, gentlemen, I think we'll call it a night. What do you reckon?
We will do the best we can to get a training ground out. We'll do because it's a good one. Because Arsenal will do some interesting things. So we'll do the best we can to get one out.
So are you going to start doing training grounds for Aston Villa?
That's what I was going to ask. Is it Aston Villa or is it?
Yeah, so
this is how we beat Liverpool. This is how we beat Liverpool. That's what he's going to be doing.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, our next game is against Brighton, so it's going to be a tough one for us. But I think Stevie's first game we should be okay. But how to beat Liverpool is quite easy. Just run down the middle.
Well, there you go. Simple. Copy, paste, and crowd the goalkeeper. And crowd Allison, mind you. Always crowd Allison. Anyways, that is it from us. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining myself for this REDFIX for your Monday night/Monday morning. Slow news week, but hey, we got through it in the end. We still managed to push out 50 minutes of discussion. Thank you once again. Like the video, subscribe, drop your comments below. And if you wish all the hate for Peter for being an Aston Villa fan now, please direct him to his Twitter account and sort him out there, and everything will be good and well. So gentlemen, thank you very much. And to everyone else, hope we have a lovely week and look forward to Arsenal at home on Sunday, Monday, whatever the hell it is. So nothing but 3 points, I do say so. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Tell the world.